I did want to talk about Luka because this has been, we talk about the Mavericks' success and how the Mavericks have been, playing well recently and all that kind of stuff. But this has been a really weird year for Luka. As somebody that interacts with this fan base, like as almost my job,
Yeah.
I've never seen criticism for Luka the way that I've seen this year. And there are even fringe, and I'm not even sure they're Mavs fans. They could just be Luka fans that are tired of the Mavericks. But I've even seen people say we should trade Luka, which is like would seem insane in the past, and still is insane now. Like the Mavs should not be doing that. Right?
It's absurd. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's ridiculous now.
Get close to the microphone to say it. It's absurd.
It's ridiculous now, but I hadn't ever seen that in the past, and it's interesting to see. How he came into this year and to look at, we just had this whole reflective of Dirk's career recently. And I think there's some parallels in there where Dirk didn't necessarily take his body seriously until a little later in his career, when then he became this insane, person that completely took care of everything in a meticulous way. Like he didn't start his NBA career doing that, right?
Yeah. Health and fitness guru Dirk Nowitzki. Who knew?
Yeah, I mean he is now, but I saw the pics of him and Nash like out having fun and
at the Loon,
all that kind of stuff. What have you seen from Luka this year? What do you think is working for him, is not working for him? Because it has been such a weird start to the year, and there have been people. I mean, the ESPN guys the other night had a ridiculous statement. They're like, "All right, all three of us." Stephen A, Wilbon, and Jalen Rose said they would start a franchise with Ja Morant instead of Luka Doncic. Like these are the types of conversations that are happening that I think are also ridiculous. But what do you think is not working for Luka this year? Is it just conditioning? Is it just the way he came into the season, or is there the scheme is not necessarily working for him this year as well?
Well, look. I mean,
24, 8, and 8, right? Like he's still averaging, and he's still putting up numbers, but
yeah. I mean, closer to 25 points, right, and closer to almost 9 rebounds and 9 assists a game. I'll look at my notes. Yeah, he was going into last night 8.5 rebounds and 8.9 assists going into last night. So really, he's about 25, almost 25, 9 and 9 is what we're talking about. We
can round up on this show.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, let's follow our elementary school mathematics principles and round up when the right side of the decimal point is higher than 0.5.
That's the first time I've been owned at math on this show. I think where someone came in, and it was just like, no.
I love numbers, man. You know that. So I think, look. Again, a question that has, is a very insightful question with a lot of different directions we can go with it. Early in the season and at the beginning of the year, I've seen pictures where people have done comparisons to Media Day last season, going into Media Day this year. To me, Luka looked fine from a physical body conditioning standpoint. He got hurt the game on November the 15th, which is kind of coincided whenever the Mavs went from 9-4 and then their record started dipping. I think it was probably a little bit harder for him to be in the kind of condition that he wanted to be. I do think Luka wants some size on his frame because I think he likes being able to operate against smaller players and post them up and back them down and then scream at them that they're too effing small afterwards, because that does happen on more than one occasion. Yeah. Terrence Mann, just line up other guys on the list too.
Wagner last night.
I love that we see that side of Luka, by the way. That's fun, man. I enjoy that. So, I think he wants a little bit of size on his frame to be able to do that. When I look at what is or isn't working for Luka this year, I mean, the first thing I point to is it's abundantly clear that he played when he did come back from that initial injury with the Austin Rivers rolling up on the back of his leg in the Denver game on November 15th. When he came back from that, I mean, every game was going down and getting up slowly at some point in the game and flexing that leg and grimacing. And, it was a problem. And I'm still not sure, how close he is to 100% at this point. So that's the number one thing I see, is that somebody suffered an injury less than a month into the season and hasn't been fully right ever since then, and still can play at a very, very high level, even though he isn't, at the maximum, health situation that you would hope for.
Right.
But look, to me, isn't this what Jason Kidd said needed to happen at the beginning of the year? And that is, if the team is going to be dependent on Luka putting up these otherworldly numbers and superhuman games night in, night out to the regular season, then how can we ever hope for him to be in a position to be at his best in the playoffs when teams then are really going to try to take things away from him and really dial in on him? And it's just going to be, look at how much he did in the Clippers series last year and how exhausted he was looking towards and how worn down he looked at towards the end of the series. And think about if they had won that, man, if you're thinking about winning a championship, you got to do that 3 more times. It's not just one arduous series that you've got to go through. It's 4 of them to be able to win a title. So to me, the fact that his numbers are a little bit down, the 3-point shooting is a concern. The fact that it's, plummeted down into, the low 30s and there's been, 0 for 6s and things like that. Now, the great thing about the Memphis game when he went 0 for 6 from 3 is he went 12 for 16 or whatever it was on 2s and had a season high this year in points in the paint. So Luka's a smart enough player that he's been able to adjust this year and still rely on his ability to beat people off the dribble and score inside and post up players and score against smaller players and those sorts of things to still be able to put up numbers. But I don't look at anything as other than the 3-point percentage, as anything alarming, and just that he's not 100% healthy. You would want to see that and not have to play a whole year like that. This is in a lot of ways, what this team needs to be at its best is that Luka doesn't have to be a 29 or 30 point per game guy or 28, 29 point per game guy, that he can be a 24, 25 point per game guy. And involving other people in the right way and in the right time then gives you the best chance to be successful. And, by the way, if his offense suffers a point or 2 per game because he's expending a little bit more energy on defense, I don't have a problem with that because, again, that's all part of the component of winning a championship. And I think Luka, by the way, has looked better on that end of the floor this year. And I thought we saw some improvement in him last year, and I think we've seen some improvement this year relative to last year. So nothing other than, as I said, the 3-point percentage is happening in his game that I look at that's, anything that isn't a positive for the Mavs. He's still producing at a high level, but the numbers have taken, the decrease that you would hope would be proportionate to the involvement of other people that makes it, more of a team game that's more ultimately conducive to higher level success eventually.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
You buy that? Yeah, his assist percentage is a little up. The one thing that I do think has been down a little bit that I think is conditioning a little bit and is maybe just some other problems. His 2-point percentage is down too. And he, a couple years ago was like top 10 in the NBA. He was like up there with Giannis and Anthony Davis and like big centers that were, shooting well inside the paint, especially just inside like the restricted area.
Yeah.
He's missed some bunnies recently where you're like, man, like he feel like he would make that in the past. And so I think there's something going on with his touch there, but the way that he's made up for it is this mid-range, right? Like we talked about Dirk earlier, and he's made that Dirk shot over and over again to the point where Hubie Brown called it Luka's patented shot. And I was like, hold on, wait, didn't we just see a guy do this for like decades before? But yeah, he's taking it to that degree where he's hitting those mid-range shots and he's killing it. That's how he killed the Grizzlies the other night. All those shots weren't just like at the rim.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Dirk said this, and I think that because I listened to what Dirk had to say over the years, that and I certainly understand where the league is and the models of efficiency of shoot threes, get inside. I mean that obviously there's nothing wrong with the fact that the league is trending that way, but Dirk always brought up the fact that late in games, teams are not going to give you wide open threes. They're going to work much harder to take those away from you. They're going to work much harder to take away your ability to get inside. You got to have something else that you can go to. And I think that's why Dirk was such a hard worker and such a believer in that part of your game that you can score at 3 levels. You don't just want to be a 2-level scorer where it's at the rim or it's from the 3-point line. I know that analytically that's great, but there still is value in being a 3-level scorer. And we're seeing that with Luka this year. And I don't know if that's specifically Dirk's influence rubbing off on him because Dirk's around more. And I do think that as the years have unfolded, even, they were teammates obviously for a season, but I think even as the years have gone by and now Dirk's more involved with his special advisor role, I do think that there's a growing mentorship that continues there with Dirk and Luka. Maybe some of that is what this is all about, or maybe it's just Luka's just, he's obviously a high IQ guy. And he understands that teams are going to work to take things away from me. So I've got to work on this part of my game. And, we're seeing the fruits of his efforts to do that so far this year for sure.